Jack Monroe yawned as he stared at the monitor screens. Another quiet night at Frontier's Edge, the farthest human outpost from Earth. The year was 2157, and humans had spread across the solar system with colonies on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Jack commanded this lonely station, watching the darkness between stars. "Sir, we have something strange," said Ben, the night shift operator. "Energy readings from Sector 7. Nothing like we've seen before." Jack moved closer to the screen. A wave of blue light pulsed where nothing should be. "How long has this been happening?" "Just started 5 minutes ago. Should I call Earth?" Jack shook his head. "Not yet. Let's watch it for a while." Over the next week, more reports came in. The mining colony on Europa lost contact during their night cycle. Equipment failures spread through outer stations, always during darkness hours. Then people started to vanish. Only at night, only in the dark. Lisa Freeman didn't believe in monsters. As the lead scientist at Ganymede Research Station, she trusted data, not stories. But when 3 of her team disappeared from a sealed lab during a power outage, she set up hidden cameras that would work without main power. The next night, she got her proof. The recording showed shadowy figures moving through solid walls. They seemed to absorb light, creating patches of complete darkness wherever they moved. Their bodies were tall and thin with no visible eyes. They took 2 more scientists, who simply stopped moving when the creatures touched them. Lisa sent the footage to Space Command before locking herself in the emergency shelter. She was the only survivor from Ganymede Station. Jack Monroe watched the footage with cold fear growing in his stomach. "They come from the dark," he said during the emergency meeting. "They attack only at night, and they're gone before sunrise." Admiral Joe West nodded. "We're calling them Void Walkers. Their ships bend light around them. That's why our sensors didn't pick them up until now." "What do they want?" asked Jack. "We don't know yet, but they seem to think we're helpless in darkness." The attacks spread. Colony after colony reported the same pattern. Lights would fail, and people would vanish. Humanity responded by flooding their settlements with light, massive arrays that turned night into day. For a while, it seemed to work. Until the Void Walkers adapted. They targeted power plants first, then backup generators. Colonies fell into darkness one by one. Fear spread faster than solutions. On Earth, a civilian programmer named Karen Miller noticed something in the attack data that others had missed. She sent her findings to Space Command. The attacks avoid areas with certain electromagnetic frequencies. Working with military scientist Alan Grant, Karen developed a theory. "I think these frequencies hurt them somehow," she explained, "or maybe interfere with their ability to move through solid matter." Admiral Susan Davis read their report carefully. After 3 months of losing the fight, she was ready for a new approach. "Everyone assumes we need light to fight them," she said to the Joint Chiefs. "We're playing defense, staying in the light while they control the dark." She stood up and looked at each person around the table. "That ends now." She pressed a button, and the room went completely dark. "If they think we fear the dark," her voice came from the blackness, "then we need to become the darkness ourselves." The plan was called Project Nightshade. Instead of fearing the shadows, humans would learn to use them. Instead of running from the dark, they would become hunters. The Void Walkers thought they had found easy prey. They were wrong. Greg Blackwell had not slept properly in weeks. His office walls were covered with maps showing all Void Walker attacks. Red dots marked where people had vanished. Yellow dots showed equipment failures. Blue dots represented ship sightings. As head of Navy intelligence, finding patterns was his job. "Sir, I brought the new data from Mars Colony," said his assistant, Donna. She handed him a tablet with fresh reports. Greg nodded without looking up. "Add it to the wall." Donna placed new red dots on the map. "That's 15 more people gone this week." Greg stepped back and looked at the complete picture. Something wasn't right. The Void Walkers had better technology and could attack anywhere. Yet they followed a pattern. Small outposts first, then larger ones, always letting some people escape. They're not trying to wipe us out, Greg said suddenly. They could kill everyone if they wanted to, but they don't. What are they doing then? Donna asked. Psychological warfare. They want us afraid of the dark again. On Earth, Karen Miller worked day and night in a basement lab at Space Command Headquarters. The electromagnetic frequencies she had discovered were the key to fighting back, but she needed help understanding why they worked. Alan Grant, the military scientist assigned to her project, entered the lab with coffee cups in both hands. "You need to sleep sometimes," he said, placing a cup near her computer. Karen shook her head. "The frequencies are increasing in effectiveness. Look at this data." Alan studied her screen. The latest tests showed the frequencies not only blocked the Void Walkers, but seemed to cause them pain. "We need to weaponize this," he said. "Already working on it," Karen replied, showing him designs for a portable emitter. "But there's something else. These frequencies match human brainwaves during deep sleep." Alan's eyes widened. "You think there's a connection between our sleep patterns and their weakness?" "I think they've been studying us for a long time," Karen said. "And they made a big mistake about how our minds work." At Space Command Headquarters, Admiral Susan Davis faced the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The room was tense after months of losing battles. "Our current strategy isn't working," she said bluntly. "Flooding our colonies with light just makes us better targets." "What's your alternative?" asked General Eddie Harmon. "Let our people sit in darkness and wait to be taken." Susan activated a holographic display showing Karen Miller's research. "These frequencies disrupt Void Walker abilities. We need to switch from defense to offense." "You want to attack them? With what?" another officer asked. "We can't even see their ships until they're right on top of us." Susan smiled slightly. "We don't need to see them. We need to become what they are." She played video footage showing tests of prototype neural implants. A soldier wearing the device moved through a completely dark room, avoiding obstacles perfectly. "Project Nightshade will create special forces who can fight in total darkness," Susan explained. "While the Void Walkers are hunting us, we'll be hunting them." Colonel Peter Walsh, a battle-hardened Special Forces commander, was put in charge of finding volunteers. He needed people who could overcome the instinctive human fear of darkness. The first to step forward was Lieutenant Maria Santos. Her brother had been among those taken from Europa. "I don't fear the dark," she told Walsh during her interview. "Not anymore. I just want to make them pay." Project Nightshade began in an underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. While the rest of humanity huddled in artificial light, a small group learned to embrace the darkness. The Void Walkers continued their attacks, unaware that the hunted were becoming hunters. Deep under the Rocky Mountains, Project Nightshade took shape. The facility had no windows and few lights. Most areas stayed in complete darkness on purpose. Colonel Peter Walsh watched from an observation room as the first group of volunteers entered the training area. 12 men and women chosen for their skills and mental strength. Among them, Lieutenant Maria Santos stood out with her quiet determination. "Turn off all lights," Walsh ordered. The room went black. On his special monitor, Walsh could see the volunteers stumbling, arms stretched out, trying to find their way. "This is your home now," his voice echoed through speakers. "You will learn to love the darkness as much as you once loved the light." Dr. Nancy Carter entered the observation room carrying a small metal case. "Are the neural implants ready?" Walsh asked. Nancy nodded. "These will enhance their natural night vision, but there's a risk. The brain isn't meant to process visual information this way." "What kind of risk?" "Hallucinations, maybe. Or they might start seeing things that aren't actually visible to normal humans." Walsh considered this. "Start the procedures tomorrow. We don't have time to worry about side effects." The first implant surgery went to Maria Santos. As she lay on the operating table, Nancy explained the process. "We're placing microscopic sensors along your optic nerve. They'll capture light that human eyes normally can't see. Maria didn't flinch. Will I see like they do? Like the Void Walkers? Better, Nancy promised. They evolved in darkness. You'll have technology. After surgery, each volunteer spent days adjusting to their new vision. For Maria, the world transformed. She could see heat signatures, electrical currents, and even faint cosmic radiation. Colors shifted and changed, showing her things no human had ever seen before. Engineer Frank Rogers worked with each soldier, fitting them with special exoskeletons that bent light around them. This suit absorbs sound and light, he explained to Maria as she tried hers for the first time. You'll be practically invisible, even to the Void Walkers. The suits were black and fitted close to the body. They powered up with a soft hum that quickly faded to silence. How do they work? Maria asked, moving her arms to test mobility. Same principle as the alien ships, Frank said. Karen Miller reversed their technology using the captured footage. The suits create a field that bends light and sound waves around you. Training grew more intense each day. The soldiers learned to fight without seeing each other, to communicate through subtle vibrations rather than words. Many couldn't handle it. 3 volunteers quit after the first week, 2 more after mental breakdowns. Maria never wavered. Each night, she looked at a photo of her brother before sleep. In the morning, she pushed harder than anyone else. By the 6th week, the remaining 7 volunteers could navigate complete darkness as easily as daylight. They moved like shadows, fought like ghosts, and communicated without speaking. Walsh brought Admiral Davis to observe their progress. They're ready, he said as they watched the team complete a complex mission scenario in record time. Maria led the exercise, moving with incredible speed and precision. Her movements no longer seemed human. They were something new. Not yet, Davis said. Give them the weapons. The next day, Frank Rogers unveiled guns that emitted concentrated bursts of the electromagnetic frequencies Karen Miller had discovered. These won't kill them, he told the team, but they'll hurt them badly, maybe even paralyze them. Maria picked up one of the weapons, feeling its weight. When do we hunt? Admiral Davis entered the room. Neptune mining colony just sent a distress signal. A Void Walker ship appeared in their sector. She looked at each team member. It's time to see if Project Nightshade works. The team suited up, weapons ready. As they boarded the stealth transport, Maria felt strangely calm. The darkness that once held terror now felt like home. The hunters were ready. The Neptune mining colony floated in the cold darkness, its usual bright lights now completely dark. From the outside, it looked abandoned. Inside, 30 miners huddled in the central habitat, speaking in whispers. They had followed emergency orders, shut down all power, remain still, and wait. 3 days earlier, the Nightshade team had arrived secretly. Now they waited, hidden in shadows throughout the station. Lieutenant Maria Santos crouched in an air duct above the main docking bay, her enhanced vision showing the empty space in shades of blue and green. Contact. Came a soft vibration through her suit, more feeling than sound. Ship approaching, west quadrant. Maria remained perfectly still. Through her enhanced vision, she saw the strange distortion in space as the Void Walker ship approached. It bent light around itself, but to her new eyes, the effect was clear as a fingerprint on glass. Hold positions, she sent back to her team. Observe only. Those were their orders. This mission was just for gathering intelligence. No engagement unless absolutely necessary. The alien ship docked silently. No lights, no sound. Without the team's enhanced vision, no one would have seen it happen at all. The ship's hull seemed to melt open, and the Void Walkers emerged. Maria counted 5 of them. Tall, thin figures that absorbed light rather than reflected it. They moved like liquid shadow, flowing rather than walking. In her ear, the tiny radio whispered Admiral Davis's voice. What do you see, Lieutenant? 5 targets. Maria replied softly, moving toward habitat section. They have no visible weapons. Stay hidden. Observe their tactics. The Voidwalkers moved through solid walls as if they were mist. Maria followed through the station's maintenance tunnels, recording everything with her suit's sensors. The aliens communicated with low sounds below human hearing, but Maria's enhanced ears picked them up as faint vibrations. They were coordinating, spreading through the station with purpose. Then one turned directly toward the central habitat where the miners were hiding. They know, Maria sent to her team. They can sense the miners. 3 Voidwalkers converged on the habitat door. They placed long, thin hands against the metal, which began to ripple and distort. Maria made a decision. Team positions. Prepare to engage. Admiral Davis's voice came sharply. Lieutenant, your orders are to observe only. With respect, Admiral, they're about to take 30 civilians. I can't just watch. A moment of silence. Then, understood. Engagement authorized. Maria signaled her team. Each member moved into position, surrounding the Voidwalkers. They activated their weapons, setting them to the frequency Karen Miller had identified. Now, Maria ordered. 7 weapons fired simultaneously. The air rippled with invisible energy. The effect on the Voidwalkers was immediate and shocking. The aliens convulsed, their shadowy forms solidifying. They emitted high-pitched sounds that hurt even through the protective suits. 2 collapsed immediately. The others tried to flee, moving jerkily like damaged machines. Don't let them reach the ship, Maria ordered, jumping down from her position. She landed directly in front of a fleeing Voidwalker. For a moment, they faced each other. Maria saw something she hadn't expected in the alien's face. Fear. The Voidwalker tried to move through her, using the same ability that let them pass through walls. Maria felt a cold sensation as it touched her, but her suit's field repelled the creature. It recoiled in confusion. Not so easy when we can see you, is it? Maria said, firing her weapon again. The Voidwalker collapsed. Around the station, her team reported similar success. 5 aliens down, 3 still moving but incapacitated. Secure them, Maria ordered. Prep for transport back to Earth. 1 Voidwalker had made it back to the ship. As Maria watched, the alien vessel detached and vanished into space. Let it go, Admiral Davis ordered. We have what we need. Maria looked at the captured aliens. For months, humans had been the prey. Now the hunt had begun, and somewhere in the darkness between stars, a Voidwalker ship raced home with news that would change everything. The humans could see in the dark, and they were no longer afraid. News of the Neptune victory spread quickly through human colonies. For the first time since the attacks began, people felt hope. The captured Voidwalkers were brought to Earth in special containers that kept them solid and unable to dissolve into shadow. Dr. Nancy Carter led the research team studying the aliens. They discovered the Voidwalkers had no eyes as humans understood them. Instead, their entire skin could sense energy patterns, heat, radiation, electrical fields. They see everything we don't, Nancy explained during a briefing, and almost nothing that we do. Paul Winters, the top linguist in Space Command, worked day and night to communicate with the captives. After weeks of effort, he made a breakthrough. They call themselves the Nocturne Collective, Paul reported. They evolved on a planet circling a dying star where darkness was normal. Light actually hurts them. Admiral Davis leaned forward. Can you ask why they attacked us? Paul nodded. They say all species they've met before were helpless in darkness. They expected us to be the same. Tell them they were wrong, Maria Santos said from the back of the room. After the Neptune mission, she had been promoted to major. Meanwhile, Colonel Walsh expanded the Nightshade program. Hundreds of volunteers now trained in facilities around Earth. The neural implants were improved, making the side effects less severe. The exoskeletons became lighter and stronger. Engineer Frank Rogers worked with scientists studying the alien technology. They learned how to bend light the same way the Void Walker ships did. "We can make our own ships invisible now," Frank told Admiral Davis. "They won't see us coming." The Nocturne Collective did not stay quiet for long. 6 weeks after Neptune, they launched their biggest attack yet, a full assault on the Mars colony, home to over 20,000 people. But this time, humans were ready. When the alien ships appeared, they found the colony completely dark. The Nocturnes assumed the humans had given up and were hiding. They never expected an ambush. Major Santos led 5 Nightshade teams hidden throughout the colony. As soon as the alien ships landed, the teams moved in with their frequency weapons. "Remember," Maria told her soldiers, "we want prisoners if possible. We need information more than revenge." The battle lasted less than 6 hours. When it ended, 7 alien ships had been disabled. Hundreds of Nocturne fighters were captured. One was different from the others, larger with complex patterns across its skin. Paul Winters identified it as a high-ranking commander. Through careful communication, Paul learned something that changed everything. "They're running from something," he told Admiral Davis. "The Nocturnes have been on the move for centuries, fleeing from what they call the true predators of the void." "What does that mean?" Davis asked. "They're not sure we'll believe them," Paul said. "But they claim there are beings that live between stars, creatures made of pure energy that feed on consciousness itself." Maria Santos watched the commander through the containment field. "Ask it why they attacked us if they're running from something else." The answer was simple and chilling. The Nocturnes attacked developing species to create buffer zones against their hunters. They had been using other races as shields. Admiral Davis called an emergency meeting of Earth's leaders. "We have a choice to make," she said. "Continue fighting the Nocturnes, or listen to their warning about something worse." The captured commander made an unexpected offer: an alliance. The Nocturnes would share all their technology if humans would join them against their common enemy. "We assumed you feared the dark," the commander told Paul. "We never imagined you would become hunters like us. Perhaps together, we can face the true predators." Major Santos didn't trust the offer, but she couldn't ignore the fear she saw in the aliens' movements when it spoke of what hunted them. Something was coming from the darkness between stars. Something that frightened even the Nocturnes. The war room fell silent as Admiral Davis finished explaining the Nocturne commander's offer of alliance. World leaders exchanged uncertain glances. "How can we trust them after what they've done?" asked the president of the Earth Alliance. Major Maria Santos stood at the back of the room, arms crossed. "We can't, but I believe they're truly afraid of something worse." The debate lasted 3 days. In the end, Admiral Davis made the final decision. "We will explore an alliance, but with caution," she announced. "If these true predators exist, we need to know what we're facing." Captain Ryan Lewis was given command of the first joint mission. A brilliant tactician, Ryan had led the defense of Europa colony before joining Nightshade. He would lead 3 human ships, modified with Nocturne technology. "Your mission is reconnaissance only," Admiral Davis told him. "Find the nearest Nocturne base, confirm their story, and return with evidence." The Nocturne commander provided coordinates to a base hidden in a dark nebula. A cloud of dust and gas so thick that almost no light penetrated it. According to the commander, thousands of their kind lived there. "It is our last stronghold in this sector," the commander explained through Paul Winters. "The place your people would call home." Ryan's ships were ready within a week. They used the light-bending technology reverse-engineered from captured Nocturne vessels. Major Santos insisted on leading the Nightshade team on board. "I need to see their world with my own eyes," she told Ryan during mission prep. The journey took 12 days. As they approached the dark nebula, sensors detected heavy activity inside. "Multiple ships moving in and out," reported the sensor officer. "Energy signatures matched Nocturne vessels." Ryan ordered the ships to activate their stealth systems. "We go in quiet. Major Santos, prepare your team for possible deployment." The nebula swallowed them in complete darkness. Even with enhanced vision, the Nightshade team could barely see. The emptiness was deeper than any night on Earth. Suddenly, a massive structure appeared on their screens, a space station larger than anything humans had built. It floated in the center of the nebula, barely visible even with their advanced sensors. "That's not just a base," Maria whispered. "It's a city." Ryan opened communication with the station, using the frequency a commander had provided. After a tense moment, a response came. "They're sending docking instructions," the communications officer announced, sounding surprised. "They're expecting us." As they approached the docking bay, Maria felt uneasy. Something's wrong. They shouldn't be this welcoming. Ryan nodded. "Stay alert. We dock, we look around, we leave at the first sign of trouble." The Nightshade team exited the ship first, weapons ready. They entered a vast chamber filled with nocturnes moving in organized patterns. None seemed alarmed by the human presence. "They really were expecting us," Ryan said. "But why?" A larger nocturne approached, its skin patterns matching the commander they had captured on Earth. Through their translators, it spoke. "You have come. Good. There is little time." The nocturne led them deeper into the station. As they walked, Maria noticed something strange about the walls. They were transparent in certain sections, showing small rooms behind them. She stopped suddenly, her enhanced vision focusing on the contents of one room. "Captain," she called, her voice tight. "We have a situation." Inside the room was a creature unlike anything she had seen before. It wasn't a nocturne. It had 6 limbs and pale blue skin that glowed slightly. "What is that?" Ryan asked. "A luminar," their nocturne guide answered. "One of many species we have collected." As they moved forward, Maria saw more rooms, each containing different alien species. All were kept in chambers filled with bright light. "You're keeping them prisoner," she realized with horror. "We are keeping them safe," the nocturne corrected. "The predators cannot reach them here." Ryan's hand moved to his weapon. "Safe, or are they hostages?" Before the nocturne could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed, painful to the nocturnes, who recoiled. "They have found us," their guide said, fear evident in its voice. "The Void Hunters have come." The station shook as something massive struck its outer hull. The nocturnes moved quickly, their normally smooth movements now jerky with panic. "What are they?" Captain Ryan demanded, grabbing their guide. "The Void Hunters. They feed on consciousness itself. They are not solid like us. They exist as pure energy." Major Maria Santos activated her team's combat systems. "How do we fight something made of energy?" The nocturne's skin patterns shifted rapidly, their version of nervous laughter. "You don't fight them. You run." The station rocked again. Through the transparent sections, Maria saw the captive aliens cowering in fear. Whatever was attacking frightened every species. "We need to help those prisoners," she told Ryan. "They are not prisoners," the nocturne insisted. "We saved them from worlds the Void Hunters destroyed." Another explosion, closer this time. Through her enhanced vision, Maria saw something impossible. Patches of darkness deeper than space itself, moving with purpose through the station walls. "They're inside," she warned. Ryan made a quick decision. "We're evacuating everyone, nocturnes, and the other species. Get them to our ships." "There are thousands," the nocturne protested. "Your vessels can't. We'll make multiple trips if we have to," Ryan cut in. "Major Santos, start with the nearest holding areas." The Nightshade team moved quickly, breaking open the transparent cells. The aliens inside were confused and frightened, but followed when Maria gestured toward the docking bay. As they worked, Maria saw the first direct attack. A nocturne engineer stood frozen as a patch of absolute darkness enveloped him. For a moment, the nocturne's body glowed from within, then collapsed, empty. "They drain life energy," their guide explained, trembling. "This is why we attack your worlds." We needed buffer zones, places they would feed before reaching our final sanctuary. Maria felt cold anger. You sacrificed other species to save yourselves. We did what was necessary to survive. Wouldn't you? Before she could answer, one of the dark patches moved toward them. Maria raised her frequency weapon and fired. To her surprise, the energy beam cut through the darkness, which recoiled with a sound like distant thunder. It worked, she shouted to her team. The frequencies affect them too. The Nightshade team formed a protective line, covering the evacuation. Their weapons couldn't kill the Void Hunters, but could push them back long enough for people to reach the ships. Ryan organized the loading of the vessels, cramming in as many refugees as possible. We'll return for more, he promised the Nocturne leader. 3 trips later, they had evacuated nearly half the station's population, a mix of nocturnes and 7 other species. But the Void Hunters were growing more aggressive, learning to avoid the frequency weapons. During the final evacuation run, Maria found herself cut off from her team. A Void Hunter blocked her path to the ship. Behind her, the last group of refugees waited, including several small alien children. Maria set her weapon to overload, a dangerous setting that might burn out the circuits but would release a massive energy pulse. Get ready to run past when it moves, she told the refugees. She fired the overloaded weapon. The pulse tore through the Void Hunter, opening a path. As the refugees ran through, Maria felt something cold touch her mind. The hunter was trying to feed on her. But the neural implants that let her see in darkness also protected her somehow. The hunter recoiled in confusion. Maria made it to the ship just as the doors closed. As they pulled away, the station collapsed behind them, crushed by the Void Hunter's attack. Back on Earth, the alliance became official. Humans shared their frequency technology, while the Nocturnes taught humans how to build better ships and neural interfaces. Jack Monroe, now an admiral himself, signed the treaty alongside the Nocturne High Commander. "We assumed you feared the dark," he said during the ceremony. "And we assumed you were helpless in it," the commander replied. "We were both wrong." 1 month later, the first joint fleet prepared to depart, human and Nocturne ships side by side, with crews from all 9 allied species. Their mission: to find the Void Hunter's source and end the threat forever. As Major Maria Santos boarded the flagship, Dr. Nancy Carter handed her an upgraded neural implant. "What began as our greatest fear has become our greatest strength," Nancy said. "We're no longer afraid of the dark." "No," Maria agreed, looking at the stars above. "Now we are the darkness, and they have reason to fear us."